Hey, welcome to the video. Today I thought we'd have a look at custom building your own road bike. See, right now I think is absolutely the prime time to do it. Now we've done videos in the past where we've talked about, the combined cost of all the parts on a fully built bike and broken them down and we're going, where is the value? So I thought actually we'll show you a couple of custom build projects that we've got on the go right now to sort of talk you through what happens, what sort of experience you can expect, what sort of savings or not you might expect, but ultimately get into your absolute dream bike, which is the whole purpose of a custom build, right? So down here we have a very lucky customer who's just got themselves a new look Blade RS. This is such a stunningly beautiful bike. So the great thing about buying your look bike, especially, or anything with like lots of integrated handlebars this way, is one, you get the color of your choice, but also you get to choose exactly the right stem length you want and exactly the right handlebar width you want as well, which you often can't do on fully built bikes. But when you custom build, you can get all of that right from day one. There's no need to buy additional parts or put them in landfill. Now, we can also obviously talk about crank lengths. So in this case, we've gone for a standard 172.5, but things like the DuraAce cranks now come in such a massive variety of crank lengths that you can get these down to, half a centimetre's worth of difference. Now, in this particular case, we've also gone outside what they'd normally spec. So we've got the big 52-36 chain rings, but we've also gone for the slightly lower ratio 11-34 tooth cassette as well. So we can start really messing around with our gear ratios to make sure it's absolutely right for you. Other things this customer particularly really wanted was they do quite a lot of traveling. So they wanted a way to sort of easily remove the seat post and battery. So we've actually made sure that we have extra long Di2 cables, so it's so much easier to completely remove the seat post and have enough sort of cable slack so that you can tape down the cable ends when you're flying with it. Sometimes you have to remove the batteries for flight, or you just need to put the seat post separately. So having a few more centimeters of cable slack was really important. The other thing this customer really wanted was, and when you buy a DuraAce Groupset, these are the disc rotors they come with. Now these are the MT900s that come with DuraAce, XTR and Saint, which is nice, that gloss black, but you can also get the CL900s, which I think look aesthetically a whole lot nicer. And when you're doing custom builds, you can really get down into little details like this. Something else we've picked up is the rotor bottom bracket. Now, this is an internal T47. We've gone for the ceramic bearing options, but they also have this clear plastic sleeving on the inside. Now, this is like a sort of a accordion type shape. And this is really cool, actually. I like this because you get no rattle, because when it's actually screwed in, it actually compresses and there's absolutely no chance that anything can rattle around inside your frame. It's just one of those little things. It's very rare that it happens, but it's a nice choice. And obviously we can always pick up your favorite bar tape, your favorite saddle. There's no need to switch anything out. It's like yours from day one. This particular customer, which is really common, has decided to get their own wheels. So they've actually gone for a set of Windspace wheels, which they're getting custom painted. I can't wait to see that. I think we're going to do a full build video on this at some point and really show you how you build one of these amazing bikes, because there's loads of really interesting design stuff on them, but for another video. So on the other hand, this customer has done the complete opposite almost. The only thing that we've supplied here is the frame. This customer has supplied absolutely everything themselves. And this has come from a variety of different sources. So they've got an absolutely fantastic online deal on the Groupset, something that absolutely we couldn't match. In fact, interesting little point on Groupsets actually, and that is that we often don't make any real money on the Groupset. So doing a setup like this, we normally end up having to price match a lot of the Groupset components. And the only real advantage for us supplying them is normally to make sure that we get everything that's going to be compatible with your frame and all the other choices that you might have made. By the time we've price matched, there's virtually no profit in it at all. But in this case, no argument. The customer was happy with all the standard spec that you might get from Merlin cycles and all the drop-down menus. A second-hand Envy bar, picked up some Mount Zoom seat post, their favourite Celitalia saddle. Interesting one on the wheels, where these are actually a set of Fast Sports, and these came with a fantastic recommendation from Pete Torque. Now, the only thing that I think he didn't mention was that these wheels, for instance, aren't drilled all the way through. So if you are running these tubeless, there's no faff with tubeless tape and that sort of thing. But the downside is if you break a spoke, you better be prepared to talk very sweetly to your bike mechanic, because replacing a nipple on these are the world's worst job. Like, just to give you an idea, if you broke a spoke here, you would have to detension the whole wheel, take out all the spokes up until the valve hole, remove nipple by nipple through the valve hole, and then thread a piece of magnetic spoke onto a nipple, and using 2 magnets, drag the new nipple into place, thread it onto a spoke, drag the next nipple into place, drag the next nipple into place. It is the world's worst job in a bike shop, is to do internal nipples like this. But anyway, I think they've got a fantastic deal. We certainly couldn't do anything at that price like that. Not far off, but you're getting a lot of wheel for your money there, that's for sure. So normally when it comes to custom builds, our advice is always invest in your frame first. That is your chassis, that is the heart of your bicycle. Get the frame right first, get the right geometry for what you want to do, and get the right size for you as well, and get it all within your budget. The next thing you do for a road bike is look at your wheels. That's where you're going to get the next most amount of performance for your money. For mountain biking, I would say look at your suspension next. In fact, quick side note on mountain bikes, we don't do an awful lot of custom built mountain bikes at the moment because the market's a little bit strange. One, not many mountain bike brands offering just a frame only option at the moment. And also the cost of suspension has got quite high, so you can often get a better value bike for your money when you buy complete, even though you might not get everything you want. This is a slightly different market to road bikes. Whereas road bikes right now, you can normally get a custom build road bike probably cheaper or very close to the price of a fully built bike off the shelf. So you got your frames, you got your wheels sorted. The next thing is going to be your group set. There's not an awful lot of performance to be gained from your group set. In fact, a really well maintained and cleaned 105 or even Tiger group set is probably going to shift better than a slightly neglected Dura-Ace group set. The only real difference is the weight and how you sort of feel riding it. But you can make some pretty clever choices here. Now, when you buy a full build bike, they often use some sort of smoke and mirrors here. So you'll often see like an Ultegra rear mech. You know, our eyes, and this has been proven, like the marketing guys go out and they see us walking around bike shops and say, oh, men tend to look at the rear mech first, women tend to look at the saddle first. And as soon as we see the word Ultegra on the rear mech, we instantly just go, well, everything must be at that spec level. It's not always the case though. And quite often you'll see, you know, D-spec shifters, you'll definitely quite often see own brand cranksets, but the most common one is they'll probably D-spec the cassette. So what might look like an Ultegra group set will have a 105 or even cheaper cassette attached to it. And this is a shame because this is actually where most of the weight savings can be made. You see, when it comes to levers, there's hardly any difference, especially now with new Di2. The fact that this is aluminium and that's carbon on a Dura-Ace one makes very little difference. It's a relatively small piece of material. Same with brake rotors. Here is sort of the 105 spec, and here is that CL900 that we showed you. And if we put these on the scales, the 105 spec one, 129 grams, but the Dura-Ace one, which is significantly more expensive, 109. It's not a massive weight saving for quite a big price difference. The same with the chains. Got a Dura-Ace chain, almost 70 quid now. These are 242 grams, and a 105 spec, 278. Not a huge weight difference for a relatively large price. But when we come to things like cassettes, these are the sort of things that really do make the difference. The Dura-Ace set is considerably harder wearing and smoother shifting, and 264 versus 358. So the biggest weight saving, if you like, is actually from the cassette, and this is where you're going to find the better shifting and the longer durability as well. So if you have got some extra in your budget, you're better off spending it on things like cassettes and chains than you are necessarily on spending it on shifters, because if you take the 105 logo off, you're never going to know because they feel and look almost identical otherwise. And these are the sort of things that you can start building up when you're creating your group sets. You can start spending your money a whole lot more intelligently. In fact, one of the reasons we really like SRAM rival shifters is they are just plain black. There's no real branding on them. Even though the Apex ones are slightly cheaper, you just see that really obvious Apex branding. And those SRAM rival shifters can go with anything, and then we can start really intelligently picking components. That's the sort of thing you can only get when you custom build. Of course, one other service that we offer when you do a custom build is like a final bike fit, and that is that once we've got it to this state of build, we'll invite you in for a final fitting, and we'll make sure that the stem length, the handlebar width, and the handlebar height are all absolutely perfect, and then we'll cut this all off and make it absolutely finished and as perfect as we can, really tight up those cables. We'll also make sure you get the absolutely perfect saddle, layback seat posts or straight seat posts, all that sort of thing will be done in the final fit and adjusted out so that when you leave here, absolutely everything is perfect. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea of what's involved with commissioning your own custom build. Most of the value that we offer as a shop is mostly around the quality of the build, things that we really put our love, care and attention into. Things like trying to make the cables as neat as possible, make sure that nothing's going to rattle or squeak, make sure everything fits perfectly. And then of course, if we are sourcing parts for you, we become the only place or point of contact for any sort of warranty issues that you might have down the line. And then finally is really our advice on making sure that things are going to fit, things are going to be the right gear ratios, things are going to be compatible, that sort of stuff. So this has sparked up your imagination. Maybe pick up the phone, give us a call, have a trawl through the internet, get some ideas, and let's start a conversation. All right, thanks for listening. Take it easy.